Welcome back. You know, in these interesting South African times, it's always interesting to get some perspective. Well, there's often a comparison in culture between South Africa and the United States. South Africa is considered a developing country, while the US is seen as a developed one. That belief, of course, is that America is always ahead of South Africa in some aspects, but it's not always the case. The comparison, of course, ranges from, technology, food, hospitality, and so much more. But let's look at the differences, and also perhaps an opportunity for us to see South Africa through fresh eyes. We're joined by lecturer Dr. Sipho Sithole with the two of his students who hail from the USA, Anastasia Taylor from Jackson State University and Tatiana Allen from Howard University. Ladies, good morning, sanibonani.
Yebo, sawubona.
Ninjani.
Siyaphila, wena unjani?
Siyaphila. But Dr. Stella is looking so proud. Look at Good morning, Dr. Stella. How are you?
Yeah, fine. How are you?
Good. It's good to have you back in the country. I know that you've been in the US teaching young Americans about our own culture. Talk to us about what you've been up to.
I came to fix the GNU.
You came to fix the GNU.
I think I've failed. No,
but talk to us about where you've been.
Yeah, I've been in the US. You know, I slipped out of the country on the 31st of January. Early in the morning, and I was out to Howard University, where I took up a position as a lecturer in the Department of World Languages and Cultures. And I teach isiZulu and culture. And part of that is that the students need to contextualize the language by coming to South Africa on a study abroad program, which is funded by the US government, the Department of Education, and also Howard University has got the biggest student population who study isiZulu outside of South Africa, which means none of the other universities in the US come anywhere close to us. We've got about 100 students that take isiZulu 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. And some universities have got 3 students or 4 or 5. So we are leading in that aspect.
This is enviable, I can imagine, in the US for so many young people, right? Anastasia and Tatiana, let me start with you. Anastasia, talk to me about why it was important that you be part of the program. What is it you want to learn from South Africa? And why learn isiZulu? What difference does it make in your life?
Yeah, so, well, first of all, since I'm from Jackson State, I haven't had the benefit of taking the class under Dr. Sithole for very long. I've been here pretty briefly, but for me, I study English, and for me, studying more languages is the next logical conclusion. And it's just been really important for me to become more of a global citizen, considering that the world's issues are, nothing exists in a vacuum. And so this is just giving me that chance to get outside of my American context, which is very insular, and understand a lot more of the world. And specifically, isiZulu has been great because I'm getting that connection back to Africa as an African-American person. And then also we're seeing that connection that is real and living. So,
that's incredible. Tatiana, talk to me about your first reaction when you arrived in South Africa, right? Was it your first time in Africa?
Yes, it was.
What were the expectations? Because, I think a lot of South Africans think about the US and we think, oh, they're sitting there thinking that we're running around in the bush with lions, right? She just rolled her eyes, which I think is interesting. What was your expectation, and then what you saw of South Africa, what you thought of it when you arrived?
I thought it was going to be a very rich experience, and it has been, and I think also healing, to know that I come from a place where, culture is so important. It's like vested in the food and the clothing you wear and beyond the language you speak. And I just appreciated having such an opportunity because I didn't see myself having such an opportunity until I was probably 30, and I'm so grateful that my education has allowed me to do so. And I think it's so grounded in the fact that it's different. Of course, the culture is different from where I come from, but it's so rich because you see the interactions that people have with each other. And it's knowing that you're grounding yourself in learning other people's stories beyond your own and appreciating that. So I think for me, my expectations was knowing that I wanted to learn something more out of myself so it can bring something more out of me in return.
That's really, really interesting.
And she's looking at land reform, by the way, which is her own interest outside
Your interest is, talk to me about that.
Yeah.
So I'm part of a program at Howard called HBCU Correspondence. And we were all chosen to select a story dealing with an issue in the African diaspora, and I chose land reform and learning the history about it as far as the museums and the places we visit about apartheid, and pretty much learning the background of redistribution, restitution, and tenure, and knowing the differences between that, and why in South Africa, why hasn't there been progress, especially with the ANC, and why, you know, decades long, why people are still waiting for their claim to be checked, and 7,000 claims have not been checked yet. And people are still waiting for that sense of justice, and people are still waiting for that land that not only meant so much culturally, but in wealth and where they used to be.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine what it looks like when you come into an African country and you're hearing, you know, and you're finding out that land reform is such a big issue, that people living in South Africa their whole lives and for centuries are struggling to get access to the land, I think is really, really interesting. Dr. Sithole, talk to me about how, when you introduce the students to South Africa, what's the story that you tell them? How do you decide what to teach them? Because there are so many great things about South Africa, and then there are the sad things about our country.
Well, of course, our focus is grounded on Zulu language and culture. So the first thing that they need to understand, who are these Zulus that we are talking about? What is their history? Dating back from the formation of the Zulu nation, King Shaka, and also focusing on the wars of resistance, where the chiefs fought for their right, for the land itself, whether it's Bambata, the 1906 rebellion, whether it's the Battle of Isandlwana, 1879, and then also the language. Of course, our focus is that they should be able to communicate in a language. They should be able to go into a restaurant and order food from a menu and just speaking Zulu. They should be able to go to a doctor and say, "Ngiphethwe ikhanda elibuhlungu, liyaqaqamba," you know. So all of that. But they've had such an amazing. This is our last stop. We started in Zululand on the 3rd, and we've just been trekking all the way. We even met the king.
Wow.
We went to all the historical sites, whether it's the graves of the greatest kings that ever lived, some of the reconstructed palaces of Isilo Dingane, Ucetshwayo, and so forth. But we also then bring the political context, the socio-political context of the country as a whole, so that they understand that the Zulu nation is not living in isolation. It lives within the context of the country. And the museums, yesterday we spent an amazing time at Freedom Park yesterday, and where they got a different perspective now, because we're no longer talking about Zulus and everything. It was just about the wars of resistance, South African War, the colonial wars and all of that. They're going to come out of this country really full circle, complete. They will be able to, and I've also seen how, having been to South Africa, they are quickly able to speak the language as opposed if they are speaking it in class.
Really?
Because they want to interact, and they are even, I've heard them like voluntarily speaking to someone else in isiZulu, and people are surprised. Oh, you speak Zulu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feels good, right?
It feels
Doesn't
good,
it feel good
yeah,
when you do?
Sure.
Yeah, because there's that sense of, okay, you've got a piece of Africa that you understand, that you own, that a lot of people, I suppose, in your country really don't have. Have you gotten the clicks right? Anybody got the clicks right?
Oh.
Yeah.
There we go. She's got all the 3 clicks.
Exactly.
Well done. This is so fascinating. I love seeing our country through different eyes. The foods. Yesterday I was saying to Aldrin, I love biltong so much that I always wonder what happens when someone from another country tastes it for the very first time. because it's so magical. Foods that stand out for you.
Because it's not the same as beef jerky.
Yeah.
The biltong and beef jerky.
Yeah, what stood out for you? So foods, let's talk foods.
Well, I will have to say the biltong definitely did.
I knew it.
We all went crazy over it. Our chaperone, who is from South Africa, she bought us some, and so I mean, we ended up going back for seconds for sure.
Course.
And the bunny chow, eh?
Yeah, the bunny chow was another.
Bunny chow?
Yeah, it was another big favorite. I didn't get it that day that everyone else did. I had it before, but the day we were all on the bus and they had no forks, no spoons, they were just digging into the bunny chow, and everybody's continually raving about it.
It's the African way. You got to lick the fingers. You got to lick the fingers. Okay, Tatiana, let's talk about this, right? What is it that you want to take back with you when you interact with your peers, and they have a very limited understanding of South Africa? What's the one thing you really want them to understand about our country?
One thing I want them to understand is that the way that you guys communicate is beyond just language, that it's through your music, it's through your clothing, that you're very expressive and creative, and you guys deserve more credit than what is given, that you guys are the originators, and you know, everybody else is just a replica of that.
Sure.
So
you just gave 60 million people a confidence boost. I'm telling you that for real. I really, really mean it. Talk to me about your experience, Dr. Sithole, because again, I know that, you know, we've been looking at this country for a long time, and you're one of those people that's always been very expressive about where we are as a country. How has it shaped your view of our country, seeing it through the eyes of young American students?
You know, I would be blunt. I've told Americans that actually, if they thought they were the first world, they are just kidding, you know, because having been to the US myself, there are things that I would expect to be at the level of what I have experienced in this country, and not everything is at that level, you know. Of course, there is convenience of life itself, you know, it's fun, but I was bragging. I said, you guys don't have shopping malls like we do. We've got the best shopping malls. And I remember I went to UPS to make a copy, to ask them to print a document. They asked me to send an email because it's 400 pages and they must print it after hours. I said, you are kidding me, and you are saying you are the first world? You are not. Here I walk straight at PostNet with a memory stick. It's printed there and then.
Yes.
And I was pretty upset, actually, you know, but it's been great for me. I love being with the students at Howard, and I live in a very cultural and creative area, which is buzzing with a lot of things. Let me just say, for instance, I've been in this country, I've not had a siren.
Yes.
Woo, woo, woo,
Nothing.
Woo. In the US, every minute, it shows the first responders are at work.
Well, that there's work to be done. Also
every second.
Yeah, very, very interesting. I mean, I think that what I take from it is certainly that we have to appreciate our country a lot more, right? And I think, I say this all the time, South Africans need to travel more so that you can understand how privileged we actually are. Anastasia Taylor, thank you so much. Tatiana Ellen, siyabonga.
Oh, siyabonga.
Yeah.
Kakulu, thank you so much. All right, Dr. Sipho Sithole, an absolute pleasure.
Siyabonga.
Good to have you home once again. All right, that was lecturer Dr. Sipho Sithole with two students who hail from the USA, giving us their perspective of our country. We take a